All right, let's try that. See if that's any better. Hopefully it is. I think I probably have to fix the chat again, though. Seems like every time it... there it is. Sorry, guys. Man. I have been trying to get my internet better, to try and get faster internet up here. And so what I'm doing right now is I've been playing with cell phone internet, and I think that that's probably the problem. So I've now gotten off of that. And the other thing is that this laptop doesn't have at all. Just when it was getting good. Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, switched my internet connection. Hopefully this one's better. I've been playing with a couple different ones, and man, we have terrible internet here, don't we, Mike? You guys, while we're waiting for Luke, I'm gonna find your email on my other computer here, and I'm gonna tell the people your the name of your website, because I don't remember what it is either. I think it's I'll find it, guys. Hold on. Stuck in the other stream. Oh, there you are. Sorry, Luke. So, Luke, what's the name of the website? Is it rocketstovecores.com? I okay, guys, I think it's better now, and I'm like I said, I'm working on it. Hopefully, it's gonna get better. Hopefully, it's gonna get better next week when I can use my real computer that actually has a network cable and not this stupid thing. So yeah, Jacob, you might as well. And Luke, name of the website. I know I'm delayed, so it takes a little while. Oh, is it down again? Okay, I turned off my other computer. That might help. Or I didn't turn off, but okay, I'll see if I can read the. Oh, good. Okay, sweet. So you're buying an old wooden house in Poland. Planning to use my tiny cook stove. Main source of heating. Both house and small water tank. Do you think it will be sufficient for around 50 square meters? Plus 30 square meters. In Poland. For all your water? No. I don't think so, Jacob. I mean, it's really hard to say without seeing the home and your lifestyle and what's acceptable to you. I mean, it's 85 degrees in here right now, like 90s or something. I don't know. It's warm, and some people live in a home, their house a lot colder. Here's the thing. It's a small cook stove. It's a great heater. It's an awesome multi-purpose oven, water cooker, heat for the cabin. But it's just one little firebox. And if you want to do all of those things and you want it to be able to do all of them, like when it's the coldest outside, you'll be probably disappointed. But again, it really depends on what your goals are, what you're used to, how you live normally. I mean, if there's two people or more trying to take showers every day and you're trying to get enough hot water to do dishes and normal domestic hot water stuff, that's a challenge all by itself just for a firebox that size. You would be putting wood in the stove often just to try and heat up enough water, to heat up 20 gallons of water for 2 showers. and washing dishes and all that stuff is takes a lot of energy. So you have to think about how much energy you want to put into it, and how much you can take out. Um, I think it would be an awesome fit for your cabin if you had, maybe some backup space heating ability for when things were really cold. I think most of the time it'd probably be fine because you'd be lighting a fire and you would need some hot water and some cooking and some heat output. But when it was at its coldest, and if your home is old and not very well insulated and you really need like blasting heat out of it when it's going, um, I hate to say it, but I really feel like for people to be really comfortable, unless you're in a really small space like I am here, I'm able to stay comfortable with my tiny stove. But even so, having some additional heat is welcome. But unless you're in a really small space, I really think that the cook stove type heaters are best used as primary source of heat, but not as the only source. And again, that really depends on where you are and what your circumstances are. I mean, like if you're in a small place and it was well insulated, then yeah, it probably would be enough. Um, but an older home, you're kind of pushing the size limits already, especially if you're going to try and keep the attic warm. Um, it's hard to say. Again, like some people live in their homes and 50 degrees during the winter inside is just fine for them. And if that's the case, if you're wearing sweaters inside, then it might be completely adequate. So it's hard for me to say. It really is hard for me to say. Um, I know you'd love it. I know you wouldn't regret it. I feel more comfortable saying those things than I am saying, like, is it definitely the only heat we're going to need for all of these uses during all weather conditions? In a place, there's just so many variables. I don't know what your climate's like, the home's built like. I don't know what, you or your wife expect the house to be inside. Some people say, no, this thing's great. It totally keeps us warm. And I go in there and, I put on my sweater and I'm fine. I could live like that, but I'd rather be in a t-shirt. So it's hard for me to say. 50 meters squared is about, 550 square feet. Yeah, that's what I thought. And like I said, I mean, I recommend that the stoves are, I say that they're capable of heating bigger spaces, and they are. Um, but again, usually you're prioritizing one of the functions over the other. Like it's primarily a heater, and we're going to heat a little water, or it's primarily a water heater, and we're going to get some heat off of it, or it's primarily for cooking. But to try and do all of those things at once, and for it to be the only source of all of those things, I just think you come up short at some point. So hard to say though exactly. I hope that isn't too discouraging, but and no, the heat output is the same. I mean, I'm not saying my stove versus a rocket. My tiny stove is basically the same output as a rocket mass heater. As like a J tube rocket mass heater. Actually, I think the tiny cook stove is higher output than a 6-inch J. So, yeah, Jacob. I mean, it's hard for me to make those recommendations because if it were me, like what I did here, I mean, I'd do it. Like, and I'd say, heck yeah, it's enough, and it is for me in my, I don't look at it's all windows. There's no insulation, it's like, so the way I live, it's fine. But the way my parents live, no, probably not. And so it's hard for me to make those recommendations. But yeah, if you're rugged and you're kind of, self-sufficient, then yeah, you'd probably be stoked. But you know what I'm saying, it's hard to, especially when you get to this level where I have people from all different walks of life building these stoves, and they have all different expectations. So the size of a house and will it heat, those are the hardest things for me to answer because it really depends on you mostly. So hopefully that helps. So hopefully that more encourages you than discourages you, but just lets you know that I'm trying to be honest with you and not just say you'll be so warm and you'll have all the hot water you want. You'll have to tune and balance those things to your goals, and you would be happy to have a little electric oil radiator or something that you could turn on during the coldest nights. So something like that. That's a thought, anyways. So yeah, you're very welcome, Jacob. I hope that does help. And yeah, there's 70 years old. Wow, that's probably cool. Thanks, One Little Indian. Appreciate that. Yeah, so the old masonry heaters, and a lot of people are like, well, geez, those old masonry heaters heated the whole house, and they do. You got to remember that a lot of times they're really big. I mean, this will heat the whole house, but like I said, you just have to prioritize. But those old ones, probably a big firebox, hopefully in there, a big giant firebox, and it probably just eats wood. So yeah, you just have to find a balance there. So you're in your early 30s, still don't need a lot of heat in the winter. Yeah, exactly. So like for me, what I did, Jacob, is I built mine. And well, I don't know if Michael's still here, but he's my neighbor, and he can vouch for this. I built mine in the first year. I was freezing. I didn't even, it's all windows, but I didn't even have the windows done. It was like plastic greenhouse film, and I just froze. And then so then the second winter, I built the tiny cook stove. The first one was sort of a temporary one, and it's slowly been getting better. And I've just been dealing with it. I've been working on my installation. And then this year I finally did add some supplemental heat, and it's been really nice, to be able to, because I didn't have anywhere to store stuff. I moved into this little tiny one-room cabin a few years ago, and I realized recently that I just have no climate-controlled storage. So yeah, so I do think that you'd be stoked on it, man. I think you'd probably get most of those uses out of it. But you'd probably still want to have, maybe supplemental water heat. I mean, that's one thing I think is a great way to go is to build these things with a water heating circuit in them, but tie it into a normal domestic. A lot of people can't, they're stuck off grid, and so I understand that. But if you're not stuck off grid, having a dual system where you can input power from your wood stove or input power from the grid if you need to, is a great way to just hedge your bets and make sure you're not ever left short, whether it's your wood's wet or, the power goes out, you're hedged on both sides. So yeah. So Luke, can I comment on the size of the indoor J in my indoor RMH I did the movies about, the one you later converted to a batch box? What was the size batch box? Yeah, Luke, sure. Hey, Luke, can you put the name of the website, your website? Can you type that into the comments, please? I'd love that. That stove, original J, was an 8-inch J, because the chimney in that house is an 8-inch chimney. So I built that off an 8-inch J. And then when I converted it to a 6-inch. Well, the flue stayed the same, obviously, but the internals, the box size, I built around 6-inch dimensions. Oh, you tried it, won't let you, huh? Just type it without the .com. Yeah, sometimes they don't. I think you're right. Just type whatever the words are without the .com, and that'll work. I think it's, yeah, I'm sure it did. You're right. It probably did get marked as spam. So, and then Michael, you guys check out Michael Festiva's channel. Check out Luke's as well, but definitely check out Michael's there. That's my neighbor. He lives next door to me, and he's responsible for all of this awesome wood that you see here that my whole cabin is built out of. I cut down the trees here on my property, and he built an awesome mill out of an old motorcycle and milled all this wood for me. Michael, thank you so much, man. I still got to do the roof, but it can keep waiting. I'd rather see you build your dump truck. So I'm going to read your comment there, Michael. I'm getting behind. I had a 6-inch mass heater with about 500 pounds of mass in your 500 square foot cabin, and it worked good. But in the coldest times of the year, I wish I had a little more system. 8-inch. Yeah. Michael's cabin next to mine here. Rocket stove cores. Yeah. Michael's cabin had a great stove. Michael's stove was really cool. About a growing family, sort of means you need a little more room, and like you said, you need a little more heat as well. So one little Indian, off-grid, dry cabin, only wood heat. Next cabin will have a stove in it. Cool, man. Yeah, I think you'll love it. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's the quality of life that I've been enjoying since I built this tiny stove. I continually am. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm being honest. I just am continually so impressed, like how what a better quality of life it offers than either my old box stove or my, just a standard J rocket for me. I mean, I just love that. the utilitarian aspect of the cooking and the way it fits in the space and the way you move around it, and there's no, the barrel was kind of a hot spot, and I don't know, it really is great. I think you'll really dig it, man. So yeah, you guys, Luke's Homestead, rocketstovecores.com, check it out. And I'll do a real video and show you guys the cores themselves, but they're nice. They're I won't say they're high density because that would be improper, because there is higher density ceramic fiber board available. But that material you found, Luke, is really rigid and really dense compared to a lot of the ones I've used. Probably a half dozen different brands at this point. I don't even know which ones, but sometimes they're fluffy and sometimes they're hard and stiff. And that one feels really good. I haven't burned it, but it feels awesome. So I'm really excited about those cores, and I'm just excited that people are going to be able to buy them, man. Because I had tried and I have just been so busy, so many sticks in the fire. I put that one, I just had to leave it to someone else. And I'm so glad that you picked that up, man. So my chat, I'm sorry, you guys, it's tiny. You want to see something funny? I'm 50, by the way. I need reading glasses now. Oh God. I haven't really seen myself. I don't really have a mirror in here, so I can see myself there. So that's pretty funny. So Obadiah Oracle, have I ever had soot in my chimney and piping? No. No, Obadiah, I really haven't had any soot. I mean, it's black, it's dirty, it's filthy. Well, that's not true. I guess it depends on what we mean by soot. There is soot, like powdery, pure, like graphene kind of soot, just this powder. I don't think that has any volatility at all left. But you do get black powder downstream. Black, fluffy stuff, soot, I guess. It doesn't build up in a harmful way in the chimney. It will obstruct passages. Passages will start to close up. So if you need to build your passageways large enough to handle that, and every now and then go in there and kind of clean them out. Although if they're big enough, it usually flows good enough. It doesn't happen that they build up. But like in the bypass areas where you're opening and closing a bypass port, you'll see it start to build up and close down. But no creosote, nothing dangerous going downstream, and no sticky residue in the chimney, but a little bit of fluff. Yeah, for sure. And Michael gives us thumbs up. Yeah, Luke, yes, my riserless ceramic fiber riserless is what's in the tiny stove. Oh, something cheaper than your ceramic fiberboard. Yeah, you know what, man? I have now seen people email me, pretty much on the daily, right? About where to get this stuff, and hey, I found it here. Is this a good price? And blah, blah, blah. And I had one fella, maybe it's one of you guys, who was really great and broke it down into price per square foot for me and sort of did a cost comparison of a bunch of different offerings. This was a few years ago, so it doesn't really apply anymore. But it gave me sort of a good idea of what pricing is out there. And I'll tell you, man, it's all over the board, and it doesn't really have anything to do. It's what they can get you for, since they have that crazy network that I told you about in my materials video. I have to call them on the phone, and you can find it online, but someone's already gouged you 3 times for the stuff you buy online. But if you call the suppliers, they play that pricing game with you, like you're a factory trying to buy with the boss's money. And so the prices are all over the map. And so, yeah, I imagine it's kind of expensive. And I'm trying to remember what it was. I want to say $10 a square foot was the high side, and $5 a square foot was the low side. And I don't quote me on those. I could be wrong. You could correct me if I'm not doing the math. I'm just trying to remember the numbers. So, but the range was that wide on that ceramic fiberboard. And higher density is more expensive, and lower density is less. But I think you nailed it, man. Any fluffier and it starts to get fragile. So I think you got it pretty good there. Oh yeah, Gramps. I'm not, right. I know we're all on this journey, man. I'm glad I made it this far, right? I'll take those bifocals. I'll wear them with pride. Wear my reading glasses with pride. It just was a surprise. I'm sure it's something we all go through. I've been talking to my friends, and I'm not the only one. You walk into the store and try them on off the rack and go, oh my God, they make such a big difference. So yeah, the one little Indy in those, that RA330 metal, the preheat, pre-port. I sure don't have a great name for that. My pre-port secondary air tube No deterioration, man. I'm gonna tear that thing apart once I'm out of burning season here, and I'll get in there and I'll hopefully show it to you guys. But unbelievable, it looks great. Like I said, the liner's kind of warped and deformed, and I'll have to hammer it out. But I don't see any serious spalling, even that, and that was like 18 gauge or something. I mean, it's like really thin in there. You'd think it would just go, spall away to nothing, but it's holding up. So yeah. So Jacob, is there any big performance difference comparing ceramic fiber and fire brick? Um, the fire brick core is really cheap in Portland compared. There is, Jacob. There is actually an enormous difference between the dense fire brick, the split core like I used in my outdoor cooker, and the ceramic fiber board. There's just, I mean, a world of performance difference. Now that said, if you never experienced the ceramic fiberboard core, you would think that the fire brick, did I say that right? That if you'd never experienced the ceramic fiberboard core, then the fire brick core would seem awesome. But if once you've experienced one, you go to the other, what you realize is that that's the fire brick core. Pretty much the whole first load of wood, it's just kind of getting warmed up and it's kind of blowing smoke that whole time. Whereas a ceramic fiberboard core, like right out of the gate, is pretty much smokeless. Once you're there, the the fire brick core, once it's up to heat temp there, it works great. And what's cool about it is the whole thing is high mass. So, the trade-off is the whole thing weighs a lot more and you get a lot more thermal battery. And, so it's definitely not as efficient. Absolutely. It definitely is like when you load your wood in, it's hotter on your hands and, your face. The ceramic fiber board cores don't bite you when you're near the firebox, whereas a fire brick core, those fire bricks just get 1,500 degrees radiating back at you, and you can't get your hands anywhere near it, and it's burning your hair. So there's a lot of differences. I'm a big fan of the ceramic fiberboard cores, but that said, I do think those fire brick split cores have a place. If it saves you a bunch of money, it's super durable. So, there's none of the issues of trying to make a liner or anything like that. It's kind of set and forget. You could just build it in there. It's probably going to last for a long, long time. If the stove is one where you keep it warm, then the startup isn't as much of an issue. So, it's really, I, I think the ceramic fiberboard cores are a lot better from just a strict numbers standpoint, performance and efficiency. But really, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. They're just different. There's compromises on both sides. And here in the States, those fire brick splits are like, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, I could be wrong. I want to say they're like $3, maybe even sometimes $4. And you need like 80 of them to build the thing. So it ends up being almost a wash financially between the ceramic fiberboard and the fire brick splits. But a lot of people simply can't find ceramic fiberboard, or they just simply don't want the, to need to maybe replace the insides every now and then from abrasion. So a lot of people really like the fire brick idea. So I thought I'd make that a possibility. So I hope that helps. So I'm going to go back up and go and look at Mark Rowe here. I found a used kiln on Craigslist for $200. Sweet, man. I hope you got in there and found some bricks. Did you buy it? Let us know if you did, and if you got some bricks out of it. I'd be interested. Obadiah, have I ever burned any anthracite? Oh, you did ask that already. I'm sorry. I saw it and I skipped over to answering your other question. I haven't. I burned coal when I lived in Utah. I don't know that it'd work very well in a rocket stove because the air-fuel ratio requirements are so different for coal. I'm not gonna out myself and say which way it goes the wrong way. But the whole thing with these rocket stoves is the air fuel mix. They're tuned, all those sizes, the ports, everything is it's really the whole thing's really a carburetor, and it's finely tuned to deliver the right amount of air fuel mix, trying to get stoichiometric combustion. It's always different depending on what your wood is, how dry it is, elevations, all these things. So we're kind of within a range. But anthracite's going to burn at such a different range. You could do it, but you would need to change some of the already designed parameters of those cores. It might just be the air settings, primary and secondary, but maybe you'd need to make it breathe more or slow it down, and I don't know the answer to that. I apologize. It's not legal to burn coal here in Washington. It never has been, so I don't have the chance to experiment with it. I liked it in Utah though. It was awesome to stick chunks in this wood stove and just let them go forever. And the looks, yeah, let's see, I'm just going down through the comments. So tell that to your wife, Jacob. Yeah, right, I know, that's important. The looks are important for a lot of folks. Oh, thanks, Luke. My finished heaters, I think actually that finishing is my weakest point. I'm not much of a look at my cabin. I'm much more focused on function. Sometimes I can't even see the finish until I've had a lot of girlfriends in the past that have let me know that my attention to detail when it comes to finishing things is pretty poor. But thank you, Luke. I do been trying to get the stoves to at least be able to finish nicely, because I know it's important to so many people. So if you've been watching my videos for a long time, it wasn't always that way, right? I was a big fan of just the mud pile stove. I still am, but I know we've got all different goals out there, and that's goes back to suggesting about heating your space. Everyone's different, so that's why those things are so hard to nail down, and why I try and hit a broad range, because you never know who you're dealing with, right? So hey, from Germany, hey Oliver, how are you? Good to see you. I'm stoked that timing is working out for people on the continent and stuff like that as well. Pete let me know last week but what time it was over there in Pete, I'm going to screw it up again. I think Belgium. I always say the Netherlands, but I think you're in Belgium. I don't know if you're watching, but so yeah. And let's see, I'll keep going down. Mike, how about soft fire brick like in pottery kilns? Yeah, right. I should have differentiated. When I was talking about the difference between fire brick and ceramic fiberboard, as per Jacob's question, I was talking about the hard fire brick splits and the ceramic fiberboard. Now, there's also the soft fire brick splits that that Mark, I think, was just telling me about. Someone was just telling me about in the kiln. And the soft fire bricks, insulated fire bricks, I think are equal performance with ceramic fiberboard. If not even a little bit better in terms of abrasion resistance. Performance-wise, from a combustion standpoint, it's the equivalent. And so I would definitely recommend those. But if you don't find them in an old salvage kiln, if you go buy them new, they're really expensive. They're like $8 or $9 or something like that. A brick can be. I've seen them, I think between 6 and 9, and you need like 200 of them. So it's a lot. Well, no, maybe not 200. Sorry. I don't remember how many I built in my full core. It's a lot, though. It is. It ends up being like 80 or something like that. So, but yeah, Michael, thank you for correcting me. So, and I keep screwing it up on my plans and on the website. I try to, differentiate between the insulated fire brick and the fire brick, but a lot of people don't know the difference. And I need to come up with some better terminology to differentiate those. So let's see. Yeah, Mark, you haven't brought it down yet. You haven't bought it yet. Damn V thing. I think I might know what you're talking about. Carlton, hello from Alberta. Hi there. All right. So sorry, you guys, like I said, the text is just tiny on my screen here, so I'll just get my glasses on. Bought the Continental plans. Cool, man. Right on. Thank you for the purchase. I'm stoked. So the Continental, you guys, the Continental really is my, it is the latest rendition of all of those stoves. So, and it's really just the tiny spread out, unfolded a little bit, so the oven is a little more usable. But really, what I'm trying to say is, when you look at those plans, you'll notice that they, the details in those are a lot. A lot more finished, I should say. I've gone back and finished some of the other ones, and the Continental, but yeah, you'll be stoked. I think I'm happy to hear about that. So yeah, Belgium, Pete, and I'll say the Netherlands again, and I'll make that mistake again. I apologize, but I know who you are, and I do know where you are, but for some reason I just think, sorry, I need to brush up on my geography of that part of the world. So, Oliver, all right. Thank you for the compliment, Oliver. My stove is great. I really appreciate that, man. That's really nice. And Amos, interesting. Lightweight forge concrete. So, I tried some of those forge recipes back, in like 2013 and 2014. And anytime, the quarantine, that's what you meant, Mark. Gotcha. Yeah. So, and anytime I used those, I was really stoked on those mixes. The Portland furnace cement, perlite, sand, clay kind of backyard furnace thing, and they work really well. Over time, mine always cracked, which wasn't a big deal, but eventually they'd start to kind of powder. So I'd be curious to hear how yours holds up over time. I'm wary of Portland. I see, boy, right now I get all of these people emailing me asking me about. Oh, you brought premix. Yeah, so that's the way to go. I mean, that's totally the thing right there. That's People email me all the time and they're asking me the most common question I get, almost without fail, without a doubt, is that of casting and if people can use whether it's aircrete or a backyard foundry type mix, but always questions regarding some type of Portland based mix. And yeah, so Amos nailed it, you guys. No Portland, no Portland, and that's like a hard and fast rule. I don't care if the latest YouTube surprise says. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude. It comes up all the time, and it's a cyclical event where someone tries those materials again, and then another group learns that after a year or so they turn to powder. So elk hound, no way. Hey brother, hope you're doing good, man. I definitely remember you, my friends. Hope you're still living the life on the homestead. I need to check out your videos. You're probably still making videos, man. Right on. I haven't been watching enough YouTube, but good to see you. Thanks for coming back around here. So yeah, I thought I'd do these chats, you guys, and just try and give us a little place to hang out and get a little more two-way dialogue. So I'm sure enjoying it. It's really awesome to talk to you guys about stoves. Just when I make those videos and I'm just trying to think of what to share with you, it's definitely nowhere near as good as actually talking to you about stoves. So yeah. So the project that's coming up here that I'm excited about is the water heater project. And I ordered, you guys know Amazon's taking a while right now with, as Mark, as you call it, the V curve there. And so I just ordered copper tubing for that project and should be here hopefully this week. And I think I have just about everything else to at least get started on that. So I'll hopefully, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I think I'll probably draw up the plans and release the video and all that. So it'll probably be a month out or so before I actually get it up. But that's my goal. So yeah, all right. Glad you're still homesteading elk. I bet those trees you planted so many years ago are starting to bear fruit at this point. So Gramps, is there a website that might list suppliers in different geographic locations? Boy, I'll tell you, Gramps, have you watched my sourcing materials video? I'll give you kind of the brief overview. The thing about this is really specific to the ceramic fiber board more than anything else, but a lot of the other materials kind of fall under this same sort of umbrella. They really aren't destined for retail. They're made for industry and they're sold sort of inter-industry. And so they still have that phone network and sales guys and they're still kind of doing things. I mean, maybe actually now with the COVID-19, maybe they're going to change their way of doing business. But really the best way to do it that I've found is just to get on the phone. Look in the actual phone book. I don't know, we don't have physical ones, but, Google as if you're Googling for the phone book, not for online suppliers, but just trying to call industrial refractory suppliers. And somewhere within 6 or 8 hours of everywhere in this country, there is one, because there's boiler, there's gas and oil industry and, all sorts of energy, whatever industry, they need that stuff for the most part. So, but you got to call them because they don't have, portals for web-based retail sales online. You got to just kind of call them and play them. So I haven't seen any good resources. If you email or if you just type in here where you are, there's probably someone who's bought some stuff. There are some great regional suppliers like Firebrick Engineers, if you're in the Midwest or the upper Midwest, is one that pops to mind right now. And we have people like that. Western Industrial Ceramics is out here on the West Coast, and there's places like this all over the country, but there isn't most of them. Like again, you wouldn't want to buy from them online, really. You just need to get on the phone. So yeah, Starlight, one Lillian. I think it's a bust, man, and for sure, definitely seen people playing with it. You know, the thing is once it gains its insulative properties by becoming a carbon matrix foam, right? You basically burn off all the um, organic stuff and are left with the inorganic. I'm saying it wrong, but you know what I mean. You know, you just are left with the mineral materials in that substance. The problem is it has absolutely zero structure. It's just like, I mean, you basically are making soot. You're basically making what's going to fill up your bench and your bell anyways. It's just sort of like a carbon lattice. It is insulative in that state, but it doesn't, there's nothing there. It just blows away. So I made a little and blew on it with a torch. It's cool. You know, it's neat, but at some point you drive all the moisture out of it and it all burns up. And then you've got just something with no structural, you know, integrity at all. You can't fasten it to anything. You can't, you know, anything that touches it, it'll blow away. So I don't think it's a usable material for our purposes. It's fun to play with. You could make some temporary like fire gloves, stuff like that. So Michael, make a video breaking down each brick and how they rank pros and cons and cover do's and notes. Yeah, that's a great idea. You know, thanks, man. I got to tell you, Michael, right after I talked to you, was I just yesterday? I got an email from a company offering exactly what you and I were talking about. It was so serendipitous. It was really interesting. But yeah, Michael, thank you. That's a great idea. I need to write that down. I'm going to write that down right now. So because like I said, I don't want to just make gratuitous videos. I really don't. And I want to, you know, I want to give you guys access to me and give you guys more information. I want to share what I know, but so yeah, ideas like that are great. So you're welcome, Gramps. I hope that helps. Central Indiana, Firebrick Engineers. I think there's another one. Go back to my materials video if you can on this channel, and I believe that we named somebody in Indiana as well that I can't remember anymore. But Firebrick Engineers definitely in the Great Lakes, and they might extend down to where you are as well. So Mark, you're interested in how I set up computer reading for heat thermocouple. Yeah, I did do that. So I'm just gonna read through these while you guys are blasting through. Western Industrial Ceramics. Zoni, hey Zoni, nice to see you. All right. Yeah. It was a hassle to obtain it. Yeah, Western Industrial Ceramics doesn't make it easy. You got to pretend like you're a business, and I mean, you're not lying. They're like I said, they're not set up for retail. So if you want to buy a little pallet of 5 board, they get all, you know, it's tough for them. So, oh, I see. Yeah, you'll have to DIY it, Jacob. All right. So, Mark, I'll go back to answer your question. So, what I'm using is a Testo 330LL. It's a combustion analyzer. It's a really expensive piece of equipment. I mean, expensive is relative, but it's $3,000 or $4,000 probably by the time you're all said and done. I got it when I was doing the wood stove decathlon in Washington D.C. And I needed real, you know, hard data to be able to evaluate efficiency and all of those things. So the Testo is a pretty advanced piece of equipment. It's not something you need for just doing data logging of your temperatures in various parts of the bench and stove. So for that, Mark, what you need is exactly what you said. You just need thermocouples. You'll find different ratings of thermocouples. There's K ratings and L ratings. I don't know what they all are, but if you look, you'll see each rating is a different temperature rating. And so depending on where you're going to put it in the stove, you can buy different ratings. It costs a lot to be able to measure what's going on inside the core, so it's not usually worth bothering. But anywhere downstream, those thermocouples are usually pretty inexpensive. They only need to be able to handle 200 or 300 degrees. And you can get all those, and you can run those into whether a standalone data logger or a small Arduino or an Adafruit, or, you know, one of those new Strawberry Pi kind of small processors. There's a myriad of ways to take the data off of those thermocouples and then run that into a data logging. You can just use a simple chart generating program. There's a lot of ways to do it, and there's a lot of resources online on forums. If you look at, there's people data logging temperatures for their car exhausts and anything that really has um, temperature swings. Yeah. So I don't know. I could go into more detail, but hopefully that gives you the general idea. My testo is real expensive. You could get a system for probably $100 with 3 sensors and a little data logging unit that then you take like a SD card out of and put in your computer, and it would have like an XML file on it. That's probably the way to go. That's a simple way to go. So yeah. So Starlight variation to play with some design ideas so you can experiment. Yeah, Christopher, it's fun. And yeah, it's sacrificial. I can't really scroll up in this. Oh, maybe I can if I go like that. No, it doesn't look like I can. I'm going to screw everything up. I'm just going to leave it alone. So, let's see. I'm going to put my glasses on and see if I can read this. Yeah, Plibrico Amos. That's one I remembered from the other video. They're a good one for sure. Zoni, ceramic fireboard had to be seasoned. It bent like crazy. Yes, exactly. So everybody, your ceramic fireboard does need to cure. If it just heats on, if it's when you're heating it up on one side, that side will shrink and then the thing will bow and bend like crazy. You just turn it around on your riser and it'll go the other way. So and you do need to cure it all the way through. One way to do that is just kind of strap it all together and just burn it hot. It'll eventually cure from the inside to the outside. But if you don't strap the riser together on that first burn, or even the sideboards, they'll warp from the inside out and kind of, it's no big deal, but they'll sort of blow themselves apart. So Jacob, you asked one guy on pricing of a Kuznetsov type bench based on gas movements, and he said around $5,000. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, it's a ton of labor. I mean, that is a lot. I get it. And in Poland, that's probably a lot. And it really depends. Arduino and Pi, Mark. It really depends a lot on, the materials. Like, for instance, here in Washington State, if you wanted a professional looking stove that a professional built, they're going to quote you usually with soapstone, which is incredibly expensive here because it's not very readily available here. And then in Poland, I would expect you'd have traditional masons using traditional materials and techniques. Like maybe that quote includes like tile finish. I know Poland has a lot of tile stoves and that kind of culture. So, but it's a lot. I mean, to be honest with you, here in the States, you wouldn't even, a masonry stove would be, if you had a professional build it, like on the East Coast, where they do have big masonry stoves, they're only in the most upper end communities. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, I had a friend whose family had a house in Sun Valley where, the richest of the rich went, and they built it around a masonry heater. And I think that masonry heater was hundreds of thousands of dollars. They built it first and then built the house around it. And that's kind of the norm. And then even the smaller ones that you can put in an existing house, like, there's the Tulakivis and those, and they are in the $20,000 range for one that's like about as big as mine. So yeah, you got to understand the price, right? Because it's a dying profession. And that's where I was going to go with it, was you got the materials and all that. But the other part of it is just hard work, and it just takes, a lot of labor. So when I build, like, say, like my full cook stove, for instance, I built that by myself, and I built it over the course of a few weekends. But let's say I probably put 50 or 60 hours into it. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, no, probably. And, I mean, geez, at a true craftsman's rates, that's already close to the price of what he quoted you for your stove without any materials. So, because I think a craftsman here in the States is doing themselves a disservice if they're not charging $100 an hour or somewhere near that. It's hard to make a living on any less than that if you're working as an independent craftsman and, doing all your own stuff. Only so many billable hours in a day, and then you still have to invoice and accounting and all that stuff. So anyways, it's having someone build a stove is expensive for sure. So
My eyes. It's frustrating, you guys. I don't feel like I need those. And yeah, Elk, let's hear it. A rocket stove fired cold frame. Simple, narrow one, 3 by 12. Yeah, cold frame. So low, so you're not going to walk in it. So the stove is outside and you like run some flue pipe underneath the dirt maybe or something like that. And then here's the thing. Yo, Kolnitsky. Um, my stupid eyes, I just can't see. So yeah, here's the thing, Elk. Um, that's right, one little Indian. That's pretty much why I got into RMHs because poor people do deserve heat, and it is democratic technology. I'm realizing now that it's actually the other way around. Rich people deserve heat too, because getting a lot of people who love these stoves and want to put them in their nice houses. And that's I'm having to approach this challenge from the other side because here I am in my minimalist shack. So, but yeah, even poor people in Poland. So yeah, concrete bottom. So maybe yeah, Elk. That's the thing. That's so. You've seen all of the failed posts on greenhouse heaters. They're almost always failures. No one ever comes out and says failures, but you just kind of get the feeling from people, all the posts coming and going, it's doing this, and I don't know, it's kind of smoking, and it's hard, it's not heating, and man, when a rocket stove is coupled to the earth directly, they suck. So that's kind of the biggest thing is you won't get much out of it if it's just coupled to the earth and you're just trying to like get an extension on the season. You just like pipes are under the dirt, but then under there is more dirt. Unless you're out there burning it 24/7, you're just going to be going through cycles that are going to confuse the plants even more, I think. Now, an insulated situation, that's different. You could build a lot of mass. You could build like a trough and put styrofoam down on the bottom and then fill that with dirt and then build on top of that and maybe keep that whole dirt mass warm. Maybe. I think it's a waste of effort, Elk. I really do. Nowadays, I know you're kind of off. I can't remember. I think you're off. Well, I can't remember what your power situation is, but man, those little heat mats nowadays, just for starts. I know I think you're in Maine, if I'm not mistaken, and I know that you guys stay cold late like we do, so I understand trying to get the jump on the season. I don't know if a rocket stove's the way to do it. I think you'd be frustrated. I really do. It's so hard to go out and burn wood every time you need to, and if you blow it once, all of your efforts are for naught. If you blew it once in 12 hours and everything froze down in their roots, it was a waste of effort anyways. I think trying to keep plants at a constant, growing stage with a rocket stove just really, unless, like I said, unless it's like you're heating the space and all the materials are in the space and you keep the space in even temperature, that works. But otherwise, I haven't seen it work. And in greenhouses, the heated benches and all, it just seems tough. So it'd need a thermal break. Yeah, Amos, exactly. Yeah, yeah, man, I tried. I sure tried. I was all about extending the season with all of my growing projects. That was kind of my big push for a long time. And yeah, I just kind of realized. I mean, it's always a trade-off. Like if you were dying and there was you had to get some plants to grow at all costs, yeah, it might work out. But I think you could put your energy into something a lot more fruitful than that. Rocket stoves are super fun. It's really fun to find ways to use them all over the farm. But one of the things, and that actually comes back to the very first question, Jacob's question about one stove doing it all in the house and all that. And one thing that people forget is that energy in, energy out, right? It's like they're really fun, they're really efficient, they're really useful, but at the end of the day, you still got to put X amount of wood in to get X amount of heat out. And so if you give yourself big heating tasks with one of these things, whether it's big in the sense of it's a constant time cycle, like heating a planter, or whether it's just like a lot of BTUs, like heating water, those are big jobs. And if you do that, you just are setting yourself up for kind of just an insurmountable work schedule in terms of feeding it. You guys know. I mean, I've been going out there and picking away at next year's wood every day, and I love it. I loved it. I used to love it. I still do, but I did. But I don't love it as much as I used to. It's a lot of work. I do enjoy it. It's a great pastime. Um, but when you're on the downhill, when you're on the bottom looking up at the hill of firewood that you need to make every year, it's not that fun. And so if you just keep adding to those fuel needs, eventually you're going to be bummed. That was a long way of saying that. I hope you understand. Um, so yeah, wood cooking in the summer, Amos. Yeah, it's another one of those ones where I think you're better suited to move the cooking outdoors. I think there's easier solutions. I've had people build my stoves, and they prioritized being able to cook in the summer, and so we made sure that the flue path was really insulated from the firebox right to the bypass and out the chimney, and you can cook pretty well. You can keep the heat. You can keep the stove body from radiating almost any heat at all. But man, if it's 90 degrees in your house, that cooktop is blazing heat. It's just, I mean, we're using it to heat my house in the winter. So in the summer, it's doing the same thing. And I think that you'd be better served building a stove for heating and then a simple system outside for cooking. For one, you could build it smaller and you'd use a lot less wood. Your cooking tasks would be more focused, I think. You're probably not going to be doing any long. We're trying to minimize long cooks over fire in the summer. So that's my feeling. Again, it does work. You can do it. You can build the stove such that it doesn't heat much inside, but day in and day out, I think you'd be frustrated. After you'd get done cooking, the house would just be hot, and it would stay that way, I think. Like I said, you can keep it out of the bricks of the stove, but I think it would just heat the house up. So, yeah. So, Luke, if you have a big greenhouse, the best solution would be a boiler. Exactly. I mean, I totally 100% agree. If a greenhouse and constant heat and even temps and getting things started and going is your goal, and wood fired is what you want to do, then you'd be much better served running a boiler with a big buffer tank. Just get an old propane tank or something, a big one, 1,000 gallon, and spend a few weeks every year getting it up to temperature, insulate the crap out of it. But then once it's up to temp, you can go out and burn every day and, for a few hours a day, and probably just sort of keep things at a nice, 110 or 20 or 30 or whatever degrees you need to keep heat coming up from underneath, but not cycling and all that. So I think that's right. I mean, but then of course you're getting into a much more complex system. So again, trade-offs. But if you were really doing a long-term, permanent greenhouse type growing system and trying to really go for season extending technologies for the long term, I think that's the way to go. So, and you could supplement that with solar in, sunny parts of the year and stuff like that. So Jacob, yeah, cast iron. I have not. I mean, I have just playing around outside. I have a cast iron griddle that I've put on top of my rocket stoves, and but I haven't built one inside. But it'll work great. Cast iron is pretty much. Those are my two choices: cast iron or glass. Some people try and use steel, but I think it's a terrible choice. It just changes size and shape too much with the heat cycles. But cast iron is stable. It cooks great. It's interesting. Peter Vandenberg always says he believes that cast iron puts more heat into the space than the glass. I disagree. I think the glass radiates tons of heat into the space when it's just bare naked. I think the cast iron will get up to its kind of certain heat, and since it's thick and sort of a slow conductor compared to some of the other materials, it will eventually start passing some heat underneath it and sort of stabilize and not give off quite as much heat to the house. But I don't know. I think it's probably 6 one, half dozen the other. But yeah, cast iron I think is an awesome choice. And there's a lot of really neat, actually, where you are, Jacob, you could look at it might be expensive there in Poland, but Pisla makes some beautiful cast iron tops that would be a great fit for any one of the cook stoves. So those are really, really, really neat. So So I'm getting back behind. One little Indian 6 quart a year. Yeah, that you can definitely do better with a rocket mass heater. Sam, how many square feet can a small cooktop heat in Maine? We were just talking about that. So many variables, man. It's so hard for me to say. What's the house like? What are your expectations? Can you live in a 50-degree house? Does it have to be 80? Um, are you in a hollow? Are you on a hill and with the sun shining in the windows? It's really hard to say. I err on the side of caution. I'd say small. I'd say 300 square feet. I'd say really small. I like to say, as I did earlier, that I'd like to think of them as main heat source, but requiring supplemental if depending on the size of your house, especially in somewhere like Maine. Down in North Carolina, it'd be awesome all by itself. But in Maine, you're going to get some incredibly cold stretches, and it just might not be enough. It's not a metal box stove. Metal box stove has the ability to blast BTUs out, and masonry heaters, they don't. It puts out quite a bit of heat, but you'd hit a limit, So it's hard for me to say. If you built it really small and really well insulated, it'd definitely work. But where that falls in your situation is hard to say. So I'm gonna read through the comments here. Amos, have some friends that use a boiler to heat their greenhouse. Yeah, lots of wood, especially if it's outdoor boilers. Man, those things are just wood pigs. And Kale and Chardall winner. Nice. Elliot Coleman style. Oh, Manny, that's you. Yes, you have. Elliot Coleman. I didn't even read your name. Hi, Manny. Nice to see you, bud. Hope you're doing good over there. I just got a call from a friend on the islands and made me think about you and think about how envious I am. Jacob, think about a heat exchanger near the oven area and a 100-liter tank. Yeah, so Jacob, when I talked earlier about not being able to do all those things at once, if you have a 100-liter buffer tank, that changes things because you can shift when you can heat the water and save it and then do some cooking. And yeah, so if you have a buffer tank, you definitely can get a lot more out of the stove. You can, and so that sounds like a really good plan. And the heat exchanger near the oven is exactly right. Try and get as high in the stove as you can. And it depends on your flow and incoming water temp and all that. You'll have to tune it. But it sounds like you're really on the right track there. So Zoni, one issue with your metal-sided firebox, had it insulated on the sides with CFB and stuck on with the gasket sealer from the hardware store. This didn't last. For affixing CFBs to vertical metal surface. Yeah, you know what, Zoni? You know what a good way to do that is to if you can just tack weld some pins. It's just like we put insulation in the engine rooms of the boats I build. You can tack weld pins onto the metal, push that ceramic fiberboard onto the pins, and then just fold that pin over. Something like that. If you can't tack weld, you could put a long rivet through from the backside. It'll make a pin right there. Or you could do it the other way around. You could rivet through the ceramic fiberboard with a big washer. Now, you're saying to yourself, but Matt, those ceramic pieces on the inside are going to melt. And yeah, they will. And you can do a couple things. You could either recess them in and put little ceramic fiberboard caps over them, or you could just say they're going to melt until they kind of recess themselves in the ceramic fiberboard, and then whatever's in there won't melt, and they'll probably stay up. Or you could bend them over down into it or something like that. So that might work. So I'm just reading through here. Yeah, 2 cast iron tops. Right on, Jacob. Elk, yeah, I'm glad you threw that idea out. That's a good one. And yeah, hopefully we'll save you some effort. Yeah, Luke, man, he does have a neat video, man. Man, he's got some great cook stove tech. Yeah, good, Zoni. I'm glad that makes sense to you. I think that'll work well for you. Yeah. So, man, you guys, this is great. Thank you guys so much for coming along and hanging out. I cannot tell how many of us are here. I gave up. I turned off the other computer. I'm trying to save my bandwidth here. But I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. This is exactly what I was hoping for. It was a way we could just start chatting about stoves. So They do have glue. There are some adhesives, Amos, for that stuff, but I don't trust it among the dissimilar materials in a environment that changes temperature so much. I think it's designed to like glue the ceramic fiberboard to a fire brick, or more, kind of all masonry type stuff. But I'd be suspect of it being able to hold onto the metal, because the metal just, it grows and stretches and shrinks so much. I think so. You're welcome, Gramps. Glad you guys are here. Jacob, you too, and Luke. Yeah, man, of course. Thank you guys. This is, yeah, Carlton. Thank you. I mean, I'm the whole reason for being here is that's it, Carlton. I just, I want to share this technology. I want to help people. Driving down my road and seeing people burning smoke out of their chimneys, and knowing how much more comfortable we all could be. It's exciting, actually, you guys, because as these plans have been getting out there and people have been experiencing these stoves, the word's starting to get out. People are starting to be like, whoa, this is a real thing. Like, these really are better than my old box stove. And so, yeah, I'm really, really appreciative of all you guys pushing it around. So yeah, thanks, you guys. Thanks so much. It was great to meet you too, all of you guys. Mark, yeah. Patrick, you're welcome. Zoni, always great to talk to you. I definitely enjoy all you fellow builders and experimenters. It's just so cool that we can all connect this way. So that's been an hour. I think that's enough for today. I'll wrap it up. I'm going to come back next week. You guys, I'll do this weekly, definitely for as long as we're in quarantine, which for me is a few more weeks. And then if work doesn't get overwhelming, then I'll keep it up as long as I can. So save your questions, point your friends towards us. Let's hang out and just share our knowledge as best we can. So thank all you guys very much for participating, and I'll come back next week. Michael, I'll see you soon, man. I hope. I'll give you a little yell through the woods here in just a minute. So, all right, you guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Okay? Need you guys around. All right, you guys. Here we go. See ya.